Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today, we're talking about some of the best and worst gimmick metal bands. Again, it's a sequel, baby! Part 2! Let's go! For those of you who maybe don't know what I'm talking about, here's the deal. A couple of days ago, I did a video talking all about gimmick metal bands, because metal is a very gimmicky genre. I love metal. I really do. But let's just be honest here. There are so many gimmicks in metal. And I decided to do a video about, like, the most gimmicky bands that I could kind of think of. And you guys loved it. But also, you seemed a little upset that I didn't mention or reference or include other bands, other gimmick metal bands. And when I was reading some of those comments and kind of like really thinking about all these bands that you mentioned, I went, yeah, it was kind of foolish to not talk about these bands. So that's why we're doing a part 2, and I'm specifically including bands that a lot of you guys mentioned in the comments. So if you have a problem with the selection of bands that we have here today, you have nobody to blame but yourself. I mean, maybe not you specifically. I'm talking to the Metal Meltdown audience, to the YouTube metal audience as a collective whole. You only have yourself to blame if you don't like what's going down here today. We've got 6 different tiers here. We've got genuinely great, really fun, dumb fun, harmless. It said dumb but harmless before. Now it just says harmless. That feels better to me. A total gimmick band, and then at the bottom, so fucking cringe. Obviously, genuinely great is where the best of the best go, and so fucking cringe is where the worst of the worst go. We've got like 20 bands to talk about, so let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. We're going in alphabetical order, and we're starting with Avatar. Now, to be honest, beforehand, I never really paid much attention to Avatar. I never really thought much of Avatar. The only Avatar that I knew of or cared about was like the fucking Nickelodeon cartoon that I watched back in the day. Like, that was it. So, like, I legit didn't even consider Avatar when we did the first video. But I mean, looking at their very theatrical, over-the-top, flamboyant kind of style, and their stage presence, and like the costumes and stuff, it's fair to argue that they're a gimmicky kind of band. The music that I have heard from them has been kind of a mix of like melodic death metal, groove metal, heavy metal, sometimes with like alt and industrial influences. They're a little all over the place. I'm not really super duper into it, but I do think it's unique. I do think it's kind of cool, and I do think it provides a nice template for the more gimmicky kind of theatrical stuff, you know, like it all works together really well. I think that based on what I do know of Avatar, I would feel comfortable putting them in the dumb fun category. Like that feels okay to me. I've only listened to like maybe 3 or 4 of their albums. I've never seen them live, so maybe if I got to know them better, I would feel differently one way or the other. But for now, based on what I do know, dumb fun, that feels right. That feels appropriate. Next up, we have Band-Maid, a Japanese heavy metal band. The gimmick here is that they dress up as like Japanese maids. That's kind of it, as far as I can tell. It's purely a stylistic, aesthetic thing. It doesn't really have too much to do with the music, as far as I can tell. Not a very interesting or exciting gimmick, in my opinion, and if the music sucked, I would feel comfortable immediately throwing them into the total gimmick band category because of that. Lucky for Band-Maid, they write genuinely really good music. Super solid, super tight Japanese hard rock, heavy metal, with poppy flares and hooks and really nice, clean, crispy production. By no means the most mind-blowing, revolutionary stuff, but hey, it's cool, it's fun, it's well made. I would not object to seeing Band-Maid live. I think if both the music and the gimmick were like way bigger and way crazier, I would actually put them in the really fun category. For now, based on what I know, based on what I've seen, dumb fun feels right. Next up, we have Beelzebubs. Got a lot of comments about these guys. A lot of people going, hey, where's Beelzebubs? What do you think of Beelzebubs? Where the flying fuck is Beelzebubs? I didn't really think of Beelzebubs because, I mean, it's been a while since I thought of Beelzebubs. From what I remember, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. They are a Finnish black metal band, and they're also based on a webcomic that centers around a black metal family. I never saw much of the webcomic that gave birth to Beelzebubs, but I do remember actually listening to some Beelzebubs music a few years ago. I remember they had an album in 2019, and it was honestly really fucking good. And like, not generic stupid black metal either, like genuinely very well made, very produced, very elaborate, kind of like melodic, symphonic imparts black metal with like strings and a lot of different like melodies and some really grandiose segments and hooks and such, complemented by really dark, brooding, classic black metal style bursts. Like, if you didn't know about the Beelzebubs webcomic and all that shit, everything else that Beelzebubs is and the whole gimmick of them, you just listen to the album by itself, you would be forgiven and understood for assuming that it's just a normal black metal record. I don't know how much more they've done, but like the quality of that one record and just kind of like what I've seen of this webcomic in general, that's enough to convince me that maybe they belong in the really fun category. Like, I think they're really fucking cool. Next up, we have Castle Rat, and I'm going to read directly from their Bandcamp page because the way they describe themselves is genuinely really funny and cool, and there's nothing I can say about them that summarizes who they are and what they're about better than the Bandcamp page, so fuck it. Castle Rat is a medieval fantasy doom metal band led by the Rat Queen on a mission to expand and defend the realm from those who seek to destroy it. She is joined by the Count, the Plague Doctor, and the Druid. Together they face the relentless wrath of their arch-nemesis, Death herself, the Rat Reaperess. Goddamn, gimmicky, silly, corny, but honestly, kinda cool, kinda fun. To my knowledge, they only have one album out right now, Into the Realm. I thought it was really great. I thought it did a really fantastic job at capturing like a really old school, authentic kind of like proto-power metal, underground heavy metal kind of vibe, like Sirf Ungol style shit in a way. Love the costumes, love the aesthetic, love how dedicated they are to the bit, and love that they make some genuinely really great stuff. Like, everything about Castle Rat, I mean, I think it's really well thought out and really well done. A part of me wants to go genuinely great, but really fun feels better. I'm gonna leave them in really fun for now, and then we're gonna see how we feel closer to the end of the video. Next up, we have Electric Callboy, a German electronic metalcore crew. We've never talked much about Electric Callboy here on the Metal Meltdown, but I have been very aware of their music over the course of the past couple of years, and I think that they're just really fucking fun. Super energetic, super hype as fuck, just a total full-blown party metal band. And yeah, there's lots of goofy, gimmicky shit in the songs, but it's all about just creating the most, like, super fun kind of attitude and vibe imaginable, and I just think they make really fucking fun music. They did a cover of Every Time We Touch last year that I thought was honestly pretty good. They did a collab with Baby Metal called Ratamata, I think it was, and that was fucking great as well. The techno album as well, just like all the way through, is honestly just kind of filled with bangers. Again, it's just hype as fuck. It's just so energetic. I'm throwing Electric Callboy in really fun. Really fucking fun, good shit. Next up, we have Ghoul, an underground blackened thrash and heavy metal crew making gnarly, brutal, gory, silly, underground shit. I'm a little disappointed in myself for not having thought of them beforehand, because honestly, I love Ghoul. Ghoul occupy a territory similar to Gwar, where they have a large, kind of rotating cast of characters. They have various stunts they do on stage. All of these characters kind of have their own lore and their own kind of thing that they do. The difference being that whereas Gwar's music is like secondary to the live experience and to the concept and all that, that's not the case with Ghoul. Like, Ghoul genuinely write really fucking badass, gruesome shit. Like Splatter Thrash, Transmission Zero, the Hang 10 and Noxious Concoctions EPs, all fucking fantastic. Dungeon Bastards as well. Dungeon Bastards, if you bought it on vinyl too, they went out of their way to make like a board game that was packaged with the album. I'm not even joking. I'm gonna go get it and I'm gonna fucking show you. I'm gonna make this a little bigger so that you can see. Oh my goodness. Hello. All right. Dungeon Bastards. Dungeon Bastards from Ghoul. There's a fucking board game. Look at it! That's so silly! Creepsylvania is under the control of Commandant Dobrunkum, a tyrannical despot. Having captured the Omicron bomb from deep within the catacombs, he has enslaved a fearful and ignorant populace. The hooded fiends, known as Ghoul, must venture to the city square past dangerous and implausible foes, wrest control of the bomb, and try not to do anything stupid with it. And right now you're wondering, Robert, that's the back of the album. That's not the board game. Where's the board game? It's inside, you fucking ignoramus! You fucking ding-dong! It's right there! We could play the Ghoul board game right now if we wanted to. Look, there's all these fucking spots and shit, too, where it's like, oh, you land here, you've got the Gut Bucket Blues. Lose a turn. Fucking, I guess if you land here or here, maybe you take a drink or something. I don't know, that's fun. Adding alcohol to the mix always makes something fun. I'm putting Ghoul in genuinely great. Like, they write awesome music. They're so fucking goofy, so fucking fun. They're genuinely great. Fuck yeah. Alright, I guess we're done having fun, because now we're talking about Gloryhammer, and this should not be especially shocking for anyone to hear. Anyone who really knows me will tell you that I don't like power metal. I'm not a fan especially of the super glossy, bombastic, over-the-top, overproduced power metal, and that's exactly when Gloryhammer is. They are full-on, excessive, cheesy power metal through and through with a bunch of ridiculous fucking characters and fantasy tropes and, like, cliche fucking lyrics and images and shit. I am not a fan at all. The music makes me cringe. I hate it all. So fucking cringe. I really try to avoid talking about a lot of power metal because I really do not like a lot of power metal. I do like a lot of, like, the old school kind of 80s European American power metal, Savatage, Crimson Glory, Early Halloween, Blind Guardian. That's my kind of shit, you know? But when we get into, like, the really over-the-top, over-dramatic, crazy fantasy gobbledygook that is, like, Rhapsody of Fire and shit like that, like, I'm out. And same thing with Gloryhammer. Like, I don't care if it's silly. I don't care if it's for goofs and giggles. I don't like it at all. So fucking cringe. Next up, we have Gutalax, or maybe Gutalax. I don't know. I don't really care either. I'm not a fan. Right off the bat, I'm gonna let you know. They are a brutal death metal band from the Czech Republic, and they're just all about making gross, goofy nonsense. And I'm not even fucking with you. I mean, they got a song called Buttman. They got a song called Diary Hero, like diarrhea and hero. They got a song called Robocock. They got a song called Asmeralda. They got albums called The Shit Pendables and The Stinking Collection and Shit Beast. That's who they're about. It's potty humor and dick humor, and it's gross and nasty, and the music is not very good. Very generic, tried and true, kind of like slammy, brutal death metal with some gore grindy, I guess, elements here and there. The vocals are a huge turnoff, like just straight up like frog croaking death metal vocals. Look, I'm not opposed to some crude, dirty humor now and then. I'm known to make some dick jokes and some inappropriate jokes here and there during live streams, but, like, everything about this band is just shit and dicks, and their music sounds awful, and I hate those fucking vocals. It's just so fucking dumb. For me, honestly, we're going so fucking cringe. I don't like it at all. I'm not a fucking fan. Next up, we have Heavysaurus, a Finnish heavy metal, folk metal band, and everyone is dressed up as silly-looking Barney the Dinosaur-ass creatures. Like if the cast of Barney the Dinosaur got really into heavy metal, they'd start looking like this, I guess. The music is pretty well done, I guess. Not much to write home about. Pretty upbeat, energetic, fun. I don't really understand the lyrics. It's all in Finnish. But I mean, I have to assume they aren't talking about anything like super crazy, like dark or provocative, because Heavysaurus is very literally like promoted directly to children. Like, this is a children's heavy metal band. Like, I'm not fucking with you. This is technically children's music. This is music that is being made for and promoted directly to young children. And you know what? I honestly think that's pretty cool. Like, I'm not super into the music, but it's hard to be really upset with something that is very obviously designed and meant for children. So, yeah. It's like, what next? Am I gonna get mad at, like, a fucking Disney cartoon? Am I gonna lose my fucking mind over, like, some fucking Cartoon Network fucking bullshit. Like, no, it's not worth my time. It's literally for fucking kids, for goo goo gaga babies. So, whatever. I mean, it's goofy, but it does, I think, what it's meant to do. It's dinosaurs playing heavy metal. It's for the kids. Maybe the kids like it. I don't fucking know. I'm going, it's harmless, you know? Totally harmless. I don't really have a strong opinion on it one way or the other. Next up, we have Imperial Triumphant. As much as I love Imperial Triumphant and their overall aesthetic and their fusion of, like, New York experimental jazz fusion and, like, black metal and death metal, like, the overall, like, vibe and, like, the costumes and the aesthetic, the opulence and melodrama of Imperial Triumphant, it is a bit of a gimmick. But it's a gimmick that I love, and it's a gimmick that works really well. Like, everything conceptually and aesthetically, like the visual style of Imperial Triumphant, it plays so well into the music. Like, the combination of the costumes, the artwork, the vibe, the live show, the music, it's meant to kind of emit, like, this chaos and this kind of, like, really brazen, kind of, like, I don't know, neo-noir, Gilded Age, Roaring Twenties, like, jazz metal kind of shit. The beauty and elegance and tragedy and horror that is and can be New York City. And I mean, y'all know I love the music. Y'all know I love Alphaville and Spirit of Ecstasy. I gave both of those albums 5 out of 5. Perfect fucking scores. Everything else they've done is great as well. The cover songs they put out over the course of the last year, like covering songs from Miles Davis and Rush and Metallica, so fucking crazy. They've done collaborations with Snake from Voivod and fucking Kenny G. And, like, I saw them live opening for Zealand Ardor and Sylvain, too, and I mean, it was just an awesome fucking show. Like, they fucking smashed open a bottle of champagne and poured it over the crowd and shit like that. And it was just a really, like, chaotic, disturbing experience. I feel like I love Imperial Triumphant. For me, genuinely great. Like, I love it. I love it. I sometimes forget. I sometimes don't even really think of what they do, their entire concept and the visual thing. I sometimes really forget that that is kind of a gimmick because, I mean, the music and everything that all of this succeeds in doing is just so fucking great. Next up, we have Kiss, arguably the original gimmick rock and metal band. I am not a fan of Kiss. I am not a fan of them at all whatsoever. I think that their music is very overrated. I think they've got a few hits here and there, a few bops, a few bangers, but across like 20 fucking albums, I think there's a lot of mostly just generic, stupid, formulaic, forgettable crap. Don't even get me started on the fucking concept albums they did back in the day, or when they tried to go more grunge or like alternative in the 90s, even ditching the makeup and costumes and shit. And I mean, speaking of, I mean, that's the main appeal of Kiss, the makeup and costumes and shit, the spectacle of their live show. Like, that's what drew people to Kiss back in the fucking 70s. There was quite literally nobody else who looked or sounded, there really wasn't anybody else who looked like them who were putting on shows at that level. Like, sure, you had Alice Cooper, but, like, Alice Cooper was also more like a horror kind of vibe, you know, shock rock, whereas Kiss wanted to just throw a big party every fucking night, with all kinds of pyrotechnics and stunts and, you know, the general colorfulness of the fucking costumes as well, the characters, the spaceman, the demon, whatever the fuck you want to call them. I particularly find Kiss's desire to put their name on every single type of merch imaginable. I think it's just so fucking dumb. Like, I just find it all so fucking tacky and stupid and, if I'm being honest, frankly, cringe. So, you know what? Yeah, I'm doing it. Kiss sucks. Kiss is cringe. Don't at me. Fuck you. Next up, we have Manowar, and anybody arguing that Manowar isn't one of the corniest, cheesiest, most homoerotic metal bands of all time is not going to be taken seriously. Like, straight the fuck up. There is more homoerotic imagery and shit on a Manowar album than there is in a fucking Zack Snyder movie. There is literally gay porn that is less homoerotic than of like a fucking piece of Manowar artwork or something. And what makes it goofier is that they are so fucking serious and legit about it. Like, they treat it so fucking seriously. The music itself, I think, is, like, fine. I'm not really super into it, but I'd be lying if I said there weren't some bops here and there. Like, I remember, I think the first Manowar song I ever heard was, like, Dawn of Battle, which is from, like, an EP in 2004, but I heard it from the Brutal Legend video game and soundtrack. I thought that was a banger, I ain't even gonna lie. I think I'm going, like, total gimmick band for Manowar, because, I mean, it is. Like, just, it's so over-the-top and goofy. Like, I don't really hate them, I don't really love them. They're just a gimmick band, like, and the gimmick is them being, like, so homoerotic, and also them being so serious in this hyper metal macho imagery, and them just, like, kind of not getting it. Like, it's so fucking, it's goofy. It's just fucking goofy. Next up, we have Mushroomhead, and I don't really have much to say about Mushroomhead, because I don't think there is much to say. Their music is kind of suck. It's C-tier nu metal, at best, frankly. Their last couple of albums have been really pretentious and really overproduced, and they've been trying so hard to be so many things simultaneously that it has just made for a somewhat obnoxious and convoluted experience. There isn't really much to their visual aesthetic or vibe at all. They just kind of, like, have masks and costumes, and that's kind of it. If there is some kind of concept or story, if there is something unique that they do on the stage live that I don't know about, then so be it. But I have yet to see or be told of any of this. So, yeah. I mostly just don't like their music, and I just don't like them. So, I don't know. I think I'm honestly going so fucking cringe as well, because, I mean, their last couple of albums in particular are just so bad. And even the old stuff, the stuff that I'm told is, like, that's the good stuff. Even that, I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Like, this sucks. I'd rather just go listen to fucking Slipknot. And on that note, the fact that Mushroomhead are still like, oh, Slipknot stole everything from us. Like, fucking, they didn't. Let it go. Grow up. I honestly think they're just salty because Slipknot blew up and they didn't. Honest to fucking God. Like, straight up. Next up, we have Okilly, another band that was mentioned quite a lot in the comment section of the previous video. They are a metalcore band, or were a metalcore band, I should say. They're not active anymore. And their whole thing was that they all dressed up like Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, and they wrote songs based on quotes that Ned Flanders had, things that he said, and skits and set pieces and famous moments from The Simpsons. And in fact, they even had their music featured in the credits of a Simpsons episode at one point, I think, in the late 2010s. And, I mean, they're a one-trick pony, but I can't lie, it's a one trick that kind of makes me laugh. Like hearing I'll have a white wine spritzer leading into fucking, like, this brazen, metallic, hardcore, metalcore kind of shit. Like, it kind of, it's fun. It's chaotic and goofy and fun, and I fuck with it. I'm going dumb fun for Okilly, you know? Like, it's a one-trick pony, but it's a one trick that honestly kinda mostly works. Like, fuck it. Next up, we have Portal. Yeah, I guess Portal is a gimmick band, at least according to some of y'all. I didn't really think of them as a gimmick band or consider them as a gimmick band, but to be fair, I mean, just because they're making really extreme, disturbing, avant-garde shit, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't rely on gimmicks, and they do have these costumes, and they do have a weird, bizarre stage show, and they do have the tendency to do kind of weird, gimmicky shit in regards to how they release music, like releasing, like, double albums out of the fucking blue, Avow and Hagbulbia, for instance, which are supposed to be played, like, simultaneously to create the ultimate sonic nightmare experience or some crap. Like, yeah, I guess it is fair to argue that that is a little gimmicky, but I mean, hey, if we're considering Portal as a gimmick band, then fuck it. They're genuinely great. I love them. I love Portal. Ion is still my favorite album from them, but I mean, everything they've done, for the most part, is just insane and crazy. Next level, kind of like atmospheric, avant-garde, blackened death metal kind of shit with all these angular fucking rhythms and crazy time signatures and patterns, and it's terrifying and claustrophobic and immense and consuming. I really fucking like Portal. Genuinely great. All the fucking way. Love them. Love them, love them, love them. Next up, we have Slipknot, who are absolutely the Olympic gold medal champion of gimmick metal bands. At least according to y'all. Like, there were a lot of people in the comment section of the previous video going, where the fuck is Slipknot? They are the gimmick metal band. There were also a lot of people just taking the opportunity to talk shit about Slipknot, which, hey, more power to you, but whatever. As far as the gimmick itself, I mean, the gimmick is kind of just them wearing masks and suits. I mean, that's where they are pretty similar to Mushroomhead. In Mushroomhead's slight defense, I don't know if that's enough to say that you were ripped off, but whatever. I guess to be extra fair, the combination of like the trash can percussion and like turntables and samples and like the overall spectacle of their shock rocky kind of live show, like, yeah, that's fair to argue that that's gimmicky. I can see it. I see the image. I see the vision here. As far as where they would go on this list, this might disappoint some of y'all, especially if you were one of those people that was, again, talking mad shit about Slipknot before, but I really like Slipknot. I think that the first two albums especially were some of the best, some of the most extreme and chaotic new metal, alt metal shit kind of out there. Like, those albums showed the full potential of how brutal and disturbing new metal could be without having, like, dumb rap metal Limp Bizkit bullshit, without having Jonathan Davis fucking scatting or whatever, or fucking boomboxing or beatboxing or whatever the fuck, you know? And like Volume 3 has lots of strong moments. I'm not huge on All Hope Is Gone or Volume 5, but I personally really liked We Are Not Your Kind. I thought that was a really cool, really dynamic record. I liked the more adventurous, progressive songwriting on there. I saw them live a couple of years ago with Gojira, Volbeat, and Behemoth. Such a weird fucking lineup, but honestly, such a fun fucking night. Like, I think it all works really well. I don't love everything they've done, so for that reason, they wouldn't be going in genuinely great, but I think they're really, really, really fucking fun. Like, honestly. Next up, we have Slugdge, an English, technical, and progressive death metal band singing about slugs from an alien world from beyond our known universe or whatever the shit. Alien slugs! Yeah! I came to know them through Esoteric Malacology, their most recent album released 7 years ago. Goddamn, come back to us, Slugdge. Where'd you go? Here's the description for the album on Bandcamp. Delve into the mephitic melodies of Molluscus Malodorus minions once more with Esoteric Malacology, the latest gastropodian gospel from Slugdge. Journey through the annals of Slicic history, through the death and rebirth of the supreme cosmic overlord, and unlock mental gateways to even more horrendous and nonsensical realities than ever before. Look, it's goofy, gross, sci-fi, gobbledygook, and mumbo-jumbo. It's alien slugs doing alien slug bullshit. Slugdge, the music, is fucking amazing. Like, that album in particular, I mean, just a fucking fantastic, weird, warbly collection of, like, technical, progressive death metal jams. Their other records are great as well, but that's maybe their best. Like, their most cohesive, their most powerful, their most dynamic and inventive. I really thought it was fucking awesome. Maybe they're also going in genuinely great. I don't know. Maybe. You know what? Fuck it. I'm in a good mood today. Genuinely great. I love me some Slugdge. They fuck. They're awesome. Next up, we have Spirit World, a hardcore kind of death metal fusion band that has adopted kind of an old-timey western cowboy look and aesthetic. And may I say, they got that motherfucking shit on. They are constantly dripped the fuck up in the coolest, funkiest cowboy shit. Like, I am genuinely jealous of the western cowboy shit and drip. They look good. The suits, the hats, all of it. Gnarly, classy, cool as hell. Like, I'm gonna roll up to casinos in Vegas looking like that. Like, it's cool as hell. The cowboy shit ain't just for show, though. Like, they do talk a lot and sing a lot about the Wild West and cowboys, and they do a good job at bringing in, like, epic kind of western elements into the music as well. Like, different rustic acoustic guitars and shit like that. I also saw them live opening for Creator, Death Angel, and Sepultura, I think it was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, something like that. They were really fun. I'm putting them in really fun. They kill it. They're great. Love them. Next up, we have Van Canto, an a cappella metal crew. Yeah, you heard right. A cappella. Metal. That means, instead of having, like, a bass player, guitar player, drummer, keyboardist, it's 6-7 people doing a cappella, emulating drum, bass, guitar parts with their mouth, and then making metal music out of that. I do not like it. I hate it with all my heart. Fucking cringe. It's terrible, especially when they get into cover songs. Like, we talked about a cover of Master of Puppets they did a couple months ago in a video about the worst metal cover songs of all time, and I still have nightmares about that a cappella thrash metal monstrosity. I do not like Van Canto at all. Fuck 'em. Fuck 'em hard. And wrapping things up, we have Windrose, an Italian power metal, heavy metal band. Their whole gimmick is that they're dwarves. They dress up like dwarves, they sing about being dwarves and digging for treasure in the mines and drinking beer and shit, and that's kind of it. There's not much else to it. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say. There just isn't really much to say. Musically, it's... I don't know, I guess musically maybe somewhere between like a band like Sabaton and Turisas. They do have like strings and flutes and woodwinds, and it's like muscular, pounding, mid-pace kind of heavy metal, power metal, and it's pretty glossy and well-produced. It doesn't really do anything for me, but it's not like really bad or like really like, oh, it's horrible. The gimmick is mostly just kind of lame and silly in my opinion. Like it's a one-trick pony, and unlike something like, you know, I guess like Okilly Dokilly, I don't think the one trick really works. I'm thinking total gimmick ban for Windrose, honestly. I'm not fucking with them. I got nothing against them, no beef, whatever. It's just not my thing. Maybe this is where I'm biased because as I said before, I'm not a huge fan of power metal, but yeah, for me, I don't really see much beyond the gimmick of them being dwarves and acting like dwarves and dressing like dwarves in like a fucking Lord of the Rings Dungeons and Dragons ass setting, you know? Like, if you remove that element from the band, the music is not strong enough to stand on its own, and again, the gimmick itself is just pretty basic. Like, it's dwarves, it's metal, whatever. And voila! The best and worst metal gimmick bands part 2! Wow! Ah! I think I feel pretty good with this. Honestly. Yeah. We're sticking with this. I like the way this looks and feels. Thank you for being here. If you have more gimmick bands you want to talk about, let me know in the comment section below. I can't promise there will be a part 3, but I will entertain your comments and respond to them. Make sure to subscribe if you have not done so already. Join us on Discord. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.